Hey guys, what's going on? Mike Gironi joining you guys for today's latest installment of StillCraft Gear Rundown, where we get to show you guys what we use on stage and in studio and everywhere else in between. And today it's my turn to show you guys some of my guitars and amps and effects and everything else in between. So let's not waste any time. Let's just dive right in. Sit back, relax, get yourself a beverage, and let's just get right into it. All right, so to kick things off, we're going to start out with my number one guitar. This is Gold Digger. Gold Digger is a 60s tribute Les Paul from 2011. And when I found him, he had a lot of like 80s hair metal super distortion kind of pickups in it. And I wanted to rescue it, so I did a little bit of a resto mod to him. So he's got some Guitar Fetish Crunchy Pat pickups inside. And that was about the only upgrade that I gave it. So it kind of has that visual aesthetic of a very old school, like 59 gold top. So, and not to mention he's a very lightweight guitar. I believe he's chambered. I haven't really checked yet, but this thing's a really lightweight guitar. And he's definitely getting some use. As you can see, some of the gold paint is starting to wear off. And yeah, so this thing has been my number one guitar for as long as I've had him. So I don't expect this going anywhere anytime soon. Just a classic, heavy, hard rock sounding guitar. All right, next up we have my number two guitar, Negan. Negan is a 2005 Gibson Les Paul Special Double Cut, as you can see based on the double cutout here, hence that name. And this thing is a punk rock dream machine. It's been beaten, it's been battered, it's been bruised. It has definitely seen better days, but I love him for that. So Negan is one of my favorite guitars that I play with on stage. If I said that Gold Digger is lightweight, this thing is a featherweight. This thing will get thrown around like crazy. And that's why I love it. It's just a guitar that's meant to be beaten and thrown around like crazy. And I love old guitars for that reason. So Negan is really meant for like the faster rock sounding songs that we do. And this thing is completely bone stock. No real changes to this thing. It's just a badass guitar. All right, this guitar might look visually familiar to some of you guys because it's a Billy Joe Armstrong signature Les Paul Jr. from Gibson. This was from the first run of signature guitars that he did in 2006. And I believe I played this guitar at my first show back with the guys last summer. And he makes some regular appearances here and there. A very simple guitar. One pickup, one volume, one tone knob. And it's a very versatile guitar, even for that reason. So as simple as it appears to be, it's a very fun guitar to play with on stage and in studio. So Billy has been with me for a very long time, and I don't think he'll be going anywhere anytime soon. So you'll definitely see this guy come out for some special occasions and stuff, since we got a couple of shows coming up soon. So you'll definitely be seeing Billy make some appearances. So the last electric that I use very frequently on stage is this guy. This is Gravedigger. He is my own creation. It is an Epiphone Les Paul Studio, or that's how it started out life as. And a friend of mine sold me all the electronics and inner workings to his Gibson Les Paul Studio model, practically the same serial number, made in the same year. And we gutted this thing out, put the Gibson electronics in, played a few shows that way, absolutely fell in love with it. And since then, I added a Bigsby B7 whammy bar, since I don't really have many guitars with a whammy bar on it. And plus, I just love the old school aesthetic of a Bigsby. These things are great, by the way. And Plus, it's got the Vibramate mounting plates, so that way you don't damage the body and the string spoiler, as you can see there, which makes restringing so much easier. And since it was a black guitar, I just really wanted to hot rod this thing visually, so I reached out to my good friend Jim the Painter, who's pinstriped and airbrushed and lettered a lot of famous drag cars from the late 60s and 70s. And I reached out to him and said, hey, do you want to paint a guitar? And he said, absolutely. So we picked out that green color, and the rest is pretty much history. So Gravedigger is a lot of fun. Heavy guitar, and you'll see this thing come out for special occasions. I think I might bring this one out to the next Artie show, if anything. So enjoy this one, guys. This thing is just a badass looking guitar. You could look at this thing all day. All right, so in case we ever wanted to get mellow and say an acoustic show was coming up, you'll see this guy come out. This is a Tim Armstrong signature Fender Hellcat acoustic. Limited edition checkerboard finish. They only made a small handful of these things, and I was very excited and happy to pick one of these things up. This thing is a really fun guitar, acoustic-wise. I love Fender for their acoustic guitars and basses. I wasn't really too crazy about their electrics, but when I picked up this thing, I fell in love with this thing instantly. The neck feels a lot like some of the electrics I just showed you guys. The body size on this thing is perfect for what I like to do. This thing's a workhorse as far as songwriting goes, and when we get around to doing some acoustic shows, you'll definitely see this thing out and about for sure. So I'll let you guys enjoy that, and I think that finish is going to make you guys dizzy. So enjoy the Hellcat, guys. And after all the guitars, we get right down to it with the amps, and nothing says rock and roll guitar amps like Marshall. So here we have a Marshall Lead 100 MOSFET amp. It's a solid state amp. This was made in 1986. And this is the factory stock red vinyl option that you could get on this particular amp. It is a simple, straightforward amp. This thing is loud, mind you. This thing, just seeing where the master volume is at with just at 1, there are nights that this thing gets almost too loud just at that. And as you can see, very mid-range, heavy sounding amp. I mainly run the clean channel. Very rarely will I go over to dirty, only for like recording and stuff. But most of the time on stage, it's just like this little section here. But this amp is awesome. I've always been a user of Marshall amps for a long while. And not only is this thing a very lightweight head, there's no tubes in it. Like I said, it's a solid state amp. And this thing is just, it just cranks. This thing is loud. It's crazy. And from there, you kind of just plug into either what you'll see sometimes, or more recently these days, I've been going with this thing. I converted a little Marshall twin amp and made it into a twin cab. There normally would be electronics like, oh, and here, sorry for all the dust in there. But this thing with loaded with two 12-inch speakers, with that head, it just sounds loud and epic and crazy, and I love what this thing sounds like now. But if I want to go a little bit more traditional, you'll see this thing coming out. This is Marshall cab with 4 12-inch speakers, so we get that half stack appeal. And in case you haven't noticed, this thing is just as beaten and battered and bruised as everything else I own. I like them beaten and battered, you know. That's kind of my quota with my equipment these days, especially like amps and guitars. So one way or another, depending on where we're at, you know, you'll see either the half stack or you'll see the twin combo setup with the amp on top. Or say, for instance, the stage is way too small and kind of need to cram everything in. You'll see this tiny terror, and that's what this thing is. It is a Roland Cube 30X amp. It's a digital version of the MOSFET, in my opinion. I kind of set it up that way, so I just run the clean channel most of the time. There are some like pre-settings for like having like a heavy distortion sound or a British combo kind of setting in there. So I use this amp more for like rehearsal space and practicing on my own time upstairs in my home studio. But in case the stage is really small and I can't fit this thing up there or this thing and it's just going to be way too loud, this thing will do the job. So it's always all right to say you have a backup for these kind of things. And the Cube is pretty badass, if you ask me. So with amps out of the way, let's get right to the pedal board. Okay, and on to the pedal board we go. So coming right out of the amp, we go into the Ernie Ball VP Junior volume pedal. You'll see it like this most of the times when I'm just doing frontman stuff, singing a song and not having the guitar on. This just kind of kills the sound of everything while the amp is on. But you see me strap a guitar on, we go full throttle and we go live. So this thing is really cool for doing some cool volume tricks and stuff, like doing some swells and stuff like that. Almost kind of like an organ kind of trick that I learned a few years ago. So then we go into the linear power booster. I use this more for leads and solos. Whenever Murph and I are doing like our dueling guitar solo trick, or if I'm just gonna rip into a solo on a song like 10 or Don't Look Back, Run. And this thing will just give me the right kind of boost I need to do a solo with, since everything the way it is between the guitar and the amp, and then when we go into this pedal, the Dookie drive, the MXR Dookie drive, everything just sounds great. So I don't want to add like an extra pedal to change the sound up when I do my solos. But this is everything I ever needed right here. The MXR Dookie drive, which is inspired by Billy Joe Armstrong's guitar rig that he uses with a thing called a Dookie mod, is what it was, that he recorded a lot of his records with. So they made an overdrive pedal that replicates that. And I've used a lot of different overdrive pedals, but as soon as I got this was everything I was looking for sonically. This just gives the right oomph that I need with my guitar playing. Gives me the right grit, the right tone, everything I've ever wanted in my guitar playing. This has been the thing to go for, and very happy to have this in my pedal board. So next up, we have a semi-guitar and semi-vocal pedal, the Vocalist Live 3 by Digitech. Why is it called the Vocalist Live 3? Well, this thing actually is my backup singers in a box, is what I call this thing when I tinker around with open mic with this thing. But very rarely will you see this thing work during a StillCraft show, because there's certain songs that we will use that need backing vocals. So like here, this is where the 3 comes from. So myself singing and plus these two voices there. So like you can change the different voicings of what they sound like. One could be high, one could be higher up, or I can just have one. And of course, you can have it sound more masculine or more feminine, depending on how you go. Same thing with the other side. You can go higher or lower. You can make it sound like an alien effect, or you can make it sound like godly, like demonic, kind of low serial killer type voice, if that makes any sense. And you can control how much of it you hear. So like I kind of keep it relatively low. I try to keep it as much natural as possible. But when we do like a song, like say when we cover like Whole Lotta Love, I'll have this on just to kind of add some effect or like some delay and reverb, just to make it sound really kind of trippy and echoey and stuff. So a lot of the times when I go into a song that involves harmony, I'll hit this. So this engages it and disengages it. So like primarily I'll just run with one, but very rarely at StillCraft show will you see me go with like a 3-voice harmony kind of thing. So it's a really cool trick that I love to incorporate into a show, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll have to demonstrate that a little later. And then as you guys saw in Charlie's video, we have the drop tune pedal from Digitech. Murph and Charlie talked me into getting one of these, and I love it. These things are fantastic. Definitely saves a lot of time with tunings, especially since I like to play most of the time in standard tuning. So I'll set it up for like half step or, you know, drop D and like C sharp and all that. And this thing's really nice. This kind of fits in perfectly. And I know everyone's going to ask, what's with this thing? This is my old foot switch for my old amp that's upstairs that I've long retired. So this is going to make its way out of the pedal board eventually at some point. Also, as a vocalist, I forgot to mention that going into the Vocalist Live 3 pedal, what does every rock singer need? You need a microphone. So what better microphone than a Shure SM58? These are kind of the industry standard amongst vocalists and performers anywhere you go. And by that, I mean literally being the standard. This is my microphone over here. You go over to Murph's microphone. He's got the same thing. You go over to Charlie's, same type of microphone, Shure SM58. If you're not using a Shure SM58, you're probably doing it wrong. But these are great. They're super clear. You can back off the microphone if you're really leaning in, going ham on it, or you go right on top of it, whichever you prefer. And these things are great. Also, as a vocalist, this was something I invested in last year. A Shure wireless in-ear monitor system. Here's the little earbuds I wear. What this thing does is I'll have this battery pack in my back pocket, run the wire up the back of my shirt and wear those earbuds. And what those do is that this transmits a sound from the soundboard here, and I'm able to hear myself when I sing. So, you know, those little wedges that are up front on stage, those are great, but just imagine having that right in your ear, and you can, you know, control the volume on here, so you can control how loud it's going directly into your ears. You can control how loud it is up here, and you know, everything just makes things a lot easier. I mean, if I didn't have one of these, I'd be singing with a lot of tense pressure. I'd be straining. I'd be damaging my voice every night. But as soon as I got these, I realized I can sing a lot more relaxed. I can save my voice a ton. I can give a much more consistent show now every time when I perform. And all the thanks and credit to this thing. And this thing has saved my skin a lot of times at practice and at shows already. I highly recommend these, especially amongst regularly performing vocalists. If you're not wearing in-ear monitors, you might want to save yourself a ton and save your vocal cords. They'll thank you significantly if you do one of these things. All right, guys, that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to make sure to check back on our band website, StillCraftBand.com, for the latest news and updates and upcoming events that we have in the works. Also, don't forget to like and follow and subscribe to all our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, we got it. And don't forget to click that little bell icon that's down there if you're watching this on YouTube, so you can get notifications on as soon as a video comes up. That way you don't miss a thing. So until then, guys, cheers, much love, and I'll see you guys at the next show. Rock on, guys.